my god. Emma was controlling her this whole time. Why would she hide that from everyone? I woke up, my throat dry and tight. But the moment I opened my mouth to speak, nothing happened. I tried again, and then again, each time more desperately. My breath quickened as I stared at my own reflection in the bathroom mirror. My lips moved, but no sound came out. Panic rose in my chest. Was this a nightmare? No, this was real. And no matter how hard I tried, my voice refused to obey. I turned around, heart pounding, hoping someone would hear me, but my sister Emma was already there, standing in the doorway. Her face was calm, almost too calm. She didn't look surprised. In fact, she didn't look worried at all. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Sharon, she said softly, her tone unusually reassuring. You're fine. Don't stress about it. Let's get you ready for therapy, okay? I couldn't process it. Fine? I couldn't speak. My voice, my ability to communicate was gone, and Emma was treating it like it was just a passing inconvenience. There was no panic in her eyes, no concern in her voice. She acted like nothing was wrong. She smiled, gave me a soft, almost too soft pat on the back, and told me to get dressed. As I struggled to form words, I could see the faintest flicker of unease cross her face, just a flash, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to send a wave of dread washing over me. Why was she acting like this? We went to the therapist's office. Emma, still calm, as if everything was perfectly normal. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to scream, to shout, to tell her something is wrong, but all that came out was a silent gasp. We sat in the sterile, quiet waiting room of the clinic, and I felt like I was trapped inside my own body, unable to reach out for help. The air felt thick with tension, as if the world around me had frozen, and I was the only one unable to move forward. I glanced at Emma. She sat beside me, flipping through her phone like it was just another day. But I could feel her watching me like she was waiting for something. What was it? Was this all in my head? Could I trust her? My heart raced. When the therapist called us in, Emma's behavior shifted again, subtly, almost unnoticeably. She immediately took the lead in the conversation, answering the therapist's questions for me before I could even gather the strength to attempt to sound. I just watched her, feeling my own helplessness grow. She's been a little stressed lately, but she's doing fine, Emma said, her words smooth and confident. I wanted to protest, to scream that I wasn't fine, but nothing came out. The therapist looked at me, then at Emma, and raised an eyebrow. He seemed slightly puzzled, but he said nothing. Sharon's going through a phase, Emma continued, almost too quickly. Nothing serious. She's just being a teenager. Being a teenager? I wasn't some rebellious kid ignoring my responsibilities. I was silenced. I wanted to scream, I need help! But Emma's smile was unshaken. She nodded confidently as if everything was under control. I could feel the cold pressure in my chest, the growing sense that something much deeper was happening here. But what? The therapist seemed to take Emma's word for it. He suggested we try some exercises and check in again soon. My heart was pounding in my ears, my body tense, but Emma seemed perfectly at ease, ushering me out of the office as if nothing had happened. As we walked out of the clinic, I couldn't stop shaking. My mind raced. Was this some kind of nightmare, or was something else going on, something worse? Emma's behavior. It felt wrong, but I couldn't figure out why. It was when we got into the car that everything finally started to crack. Emma, still smiling, turned to me. Don't worry, Sharon. You're fine. You're okay. But I wasn't okay. I couldn't speak. I couldn't tell her, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. The car ride home was quiet, but the silence felt suffocating. I glanced at Emma, trying to make sense of her behavior. She was always calm, always in control. But today, something was different. It wasn't just the fact that she wasn't worried about me, not at all. It was that she seemed overly confident, like she knew something I didn't. I wanted to ask her so many questions. Why aren't you worried? Why aren't you listening to me? But my voice was still missing. The tightness in my chest grew with each passing second. I tried to calm myself, but nothing helped. The world outside the window blurred into a haze of uncertainty, like I was trapped inside a fog that no one else could see. When we finally got home, Emma went straight to the kitchen, pulling out a snack without even glancing at me. She was acting like everything was normal. Normal. As if I didn't just lose my ability to speak, as if the world hadn't just shifted in a way I couldn't explain. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her everything that was happening, but all that came out was air. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, the frustration building. What did she know? Was I just overreacting? Was I imagining all of this? I walked into the living room, trying to gather my thoughts. I felt like I was unraveling, like everything I once knew about myself was slipping through my fingers. I glanced around, looking for something, anything that could give me an explanation, but all I saw were the same familiar things: the couch, the TV, the books on the shelf. Everything was the same, yet everything felt so wrong. Emma joined me in the living room a few minutes later, her footsteps soft against the floor. She sat down beside me on the couch and looked at me with that calm, reassuring smile. It was the same smile she'd always had when she wanted to comfort me, but now it felt off. "Sharon," she said, her voice gentle, "I know you're scared, but you're okay. You just need some rest. The therapist said, it's all in your head, okay? You just need to relax." I wanted to shake my head. I wanted to tell her she was wrong. "No, Emma, this isn't in my head." But nothing came out. The silence between us stretched on, and Emma's eyes never left me. It was like she was studying me, watching for any sign of resistance. I didn't know what was happening anymore. My mind raced with questions, but every time I tried to reach for an answer, it slipped away. I had no one to talk to. No one believed me. And my own sister, the one person I thought I could trust, she was acting like everything was fine. Something about her calmness began to unsettle me. It was too controlled, too perfect. The more I watched her, the more it felt like she was hiding something, like she was keeping a secret from me. But why? Why would she lie? Why would she ignore what was happening to me? I felt my anxiety surge as the room closed in around me. I had to do something. I couldn't let this continue. I had to figure out what was going on, what Emma was hiding. But just as I started to gather the courage to confront her, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a message from the therapist's office, reminding us of the follow-up appointment in 2 days. My heart skipped a beat. That meant we had to go back, and I wasn't sure I could face another session where I couldn't speak. "Sharon, I need you to relax," Emma said again, her tone still calm, but now there was something more, something almost dismissive in her voice. She placed a hand on my shoulder, her fingers cold against my skin. I wanted to pull away, but I couldn't. My body felt paralyzed, like I was trapped inside myself, watching but unable to act. "Everything will be fine," she said softly, but there was a finality in her words, like she was closing the door on any further discussion. The next day, everything felt wrong. Emma was more distant than usual, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It wasn't just the silence, it was her behavior. She seemed to be going out of her way to keep things normal, to pretend everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Every time I tried to make eye contact with her, she would either look away or quickly divert the conversation to something else. I tried writing on my phone, sending messages to people I trusted, but each time I tried to explain what was happening, the words felt hollow. I couldn't even ask for help, not properly, not in a way that would make sense to anyone. My world was growing smaller, and the more I tried to communicate, the more isolated I felt. That evening, we had another therapy session. I dreaded it. My anxiety was through the roof. Would they believe me this time, or would I be dismissed again, just like before? I couldn't take it anymore. The fear, the silence, the growing suspicion that no one was telling me the truth, it was all too much. When we entered the therapist's office, Emma acted like everything was perfectly fine. She smiled at the receptionist, greeted the therapist warmly, and even made small talk with the therapist as we waited for the session to begin. Meanwhile, I sat there in complete silence, watching her every move. I felt like an outsider in my own life. Was I imagining things? Was Emma really hiding something from me? My eyes drifted back to the therapist. "Doctor!" Ward was an older man, professional but gentle, always trying to make me feel comfortable. He had been supportive during my earlier sessions, but today I could sense that something had changed. There was a subtle tension in the air, something unspoken between him and Emma. As soon as we entered the room, Emma immediately took the lead in the conversation. She sat down beside me and started speaking for me, answering all of Dr. Ward's questions like she knew exactly what I was thinking. She was speaking for me, as if I didn't have a voice of my own. The therapist noticed his eyes flicking between the two of us. He raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Sharon's just been under a lot of stress, Emma said, her voice far too calm, too rehearsed. You know how teenagers can be, right? She's just having a bit of trouble coping. I wanted to scream, to tell Dr. Ward that it wasn't just stress, that it wasn't just teenager stuff. This was real, but my throat tightened and I couldn't say a word. Emma continued, describing how I had been acting out lately, avoiding certain activities, becoming more withdrawn. It was like she was painting a picture of me that wasn't true at all, her version of me, one that suited her narrative. It made me feel invisible. Dr. Ward looked at her for a moment, clearly processing the information, but his eyes soon shifted to me. He asked if I agreed with what Emma had said. I stared at him, hoping for some recognition, some sign that he was seeing through this lie, but nothing happened. Then, something unexpected happened. As Dr. Ward began asking more questions, Emma became increasingly defensive. Her smile faltered just a little, her voice tightening with each response. I could see the shift in her body language. Her posture was rigid, and her hand gripped the edge of her seat as if she were holding on to something for dear life. "I know my sister better than anyone," she said, her voice rising slightly. "She's just going through a phase. You don't need to worry about her." Her eyes darted nervously toward Dr. Ward, like she was trying to control the narrative. It was almost as if she was afraid of him seeing through her act. I felt a cold chill settle over me. Was she afraid of being exposed? Was this a game to her? I couldn't help but wonder what she was hiding and why she was so desperate to protect her version of the story. Dr. Ward, sensing the tension, shifted in his chair. "Emma, we need to focus on Sharon now. Let her speak for herself." I watched as Emma's face tightened, her mouth set in a firm line. She didn't like being challenged, not by the therapist, not by anyone. The air in the room grew heavy. I had a sense that Dr. Ward was beginning to suspect that something wasn't quite right, but Emma was doing everything she could to control the situation, to prevent him from asking the deeper questions. Just then, I felt a surge of desperation. I grabbed my phone and started typing frantically. "I can't speak. I can't explain. Please see me. Please see that I'm not fine." I tried to show Dr. Ward my message, but Emma was already leaning over, reading it before he could. Her eyes widened for just a moment, then her face turned cold. She quickly snatched the phone out of my hand and shot me a warning look. "She's just overreacting," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't listen to her." But the look in Dr. Ward's eyes told me that he wasn't convinced. He paused, his brow furrowing as he exchanged a brief glance with Emma. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Emma's grip on the situation was slipping, and I could feel it. The silence in the room felt suffocating. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears as I stared at Dr. Ward, hoping that he would finally see what was happening, see me for once. But Emma was still holding on to the narrative, her eyes darting between the therapist and me, her grip on the situation growing more desperate with each passing second. Dr. Ward was quiet for a long moment, his gaze shifting from me to Emma, studying both of us carefully. There was something in his eyes that unsettled me, something sharp, like he was starting to peel back the layers of the story, ready to expose the truth. But Emma wasn't ready to let that happen. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, glancing at me, then back at Dr. Ward. "Is there anything else you want to say, Sharon?" Dr. Ward asked, his voice gentle but firm. My heart raced. I wanted to scream to tell him everything, but my voice betrayed me. I looked down at my hands, trying to communicate with my eyes, with my presence, but nothing came out. I felt like a prisoner in my own body. Emma's voice broke the silence again. "She's fine. Really, it's just a phase. There's no need to keep digging into this." Dr. Ward's eyes flicked to Emma again. For the first time, I saw a slight tension in his features, a hint of suspicion. He nodded slowly, but the way he studied Emma now felt different, more cautious, more aware. "Emma, I need you to step outside for a moment," Dr. Ward said, his tone a little firmer than before. Emma froze, and I saw a flash of something fear cross her face. But in the blink of an eye, it was gone, replaced by a calm, practiced smile. She stood up without protest, but I could tell that she was struggling to maintain control. Before she left the room, she turned to me and whispered, I'm doing this for you, Sharon. You'll see. I didn't understand. What was she doing for me? Why was she acting like this? And why did it feel like she was hiding something even darker than I'd realized? As soon as Emma stepped out, Dr. Ward leaned forward, his expression softening. Sharon, I know this is hard, but I need you to trust me. You're not alone. This isn't your fault. I felt a lump in my throat, the pressure in my chest rising again. Finally, someone was listening, really listening. But there was still so much left unsaid, so many questions unanswered. Sharon, Dr. Ward continued, his voice lowering to a comforting whisper. You've been through a lot, haven't you? And it's okay if you're scared, but I need to ask you, have you ever felt like you were being controlled? Like someone close to you was hiding things from you? Or maybe making you feel like you couldn't speak up for yourself? I froze. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Suddenly, everything clicked. The odd way Emma had been acting, the control she had over me, the way she made decisions for me without ever giving me a voice. I had never fully realized it before. But now it was clear. Emma was controlling me. Tears blurred my vision as the weight of it all crashed down on me. The fear, the confusion, the isolation, it was all part of something far bigger than I could have imagined. Emma wasn't just trying to protect me. She was hiding something. And I was finally starting to understand what that was. Dr. Ward leaned back in his chair, giving me space to process. The room felt lighter now, less suffocating, as though I had finally taken the first step toward freeing myself from the chains Emma had placed around me. But I still didn't know what would happen next. What would Emma do when she found out I had broken her control? Just then, the door opened. Emma stepped back into the room, her smile gone. It was replaced by a thinly veiled anger in her eyes, a look that I had never seen before. She wasn't pretending anymore. The mask was slipping. Dr. Ward didn't hesitate. He turned to Emma, his voice calm but commanding. Emma, I think it's time we had an honest conversation. You've been controlling Sharon, and we need to talk about why. Emma's face twisted in an instant. Her hands clenched at her sides as she took a step forward, but then she stopped herself, her breathing shallow. The tension in the room thickened. Dr. Ward, Emma said, her voice tight, I'm only trying to help my sister. You don't understand. I understand more than you think, Dr. Ward interrupted, his tone sharp. And now we're going to get to the truth. The room was dead silent. I could hear the faintest sound of my own breathing, shallow and uneven, as I stared at Emma. Her face had drained of color. And for the first time in a long time, I saw the true fear in her eyes. She wasn't pretending anymore. The confident facade she had been wearing for years had crumbled, leaving only a vulnerable, frantic version of my sister in its place. Dr. Ward leaned back in his chair, his hands folded neatly on the table. His eyes never left Emma, studying her with a calm that only made her more agitated. Emma, we need to talk about what's been happening, about what you've been doing. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my chest. Finally, after all this time, someone was acknowledging what had been happening. Someone was listening. The fear and confusion that had gripped me for so long was starting to give way to clarity, but there was still a gnawing sense of dread. What would happen next? Emma opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her eyes darted between Dr. Ward and me, her jaw tight. The walls that she had so carefully built around herself were crumbling, and I could feel it. The control she had over me, over my life, was slipping away. I'm not going to let you manipulate Sharon any longer, Dr. Ward said, his voice firm but not unkind. This behavior is unacceptable. You've been using emotional manipulation to keep her silent, to control her life. You can't keep doing this. For a moment, Emma said nothing. Then, her lips curled into a tight smile, but there was no warmth behind it. It was cold, calculating. You don't understand, do you? Her voice was calm now, but it was edged with something dark. I've been taking care of her. I've been protecting her from herself. I could feel the tension in my body, my pulse racing. I wanted to shout at her, to tell her how wrong she was, but I couldn't speak. But my eyes burned with the need to express everything I had been holding inside. Dr. Ward didn't flinch. You've been controlling her, Emma, not protecting her. You've isolated her from the people who care about her. You've manipulated her into believing that she's broken when she's not. You've made her feel small. Emma's hands clenched into fists. She took a step back, her shoulders trembling. I did it because I love her, she whispered, almost to herself, but the words rang hollow. I could see the cracks in her composure, the fragility of the person I had once trusted completely. Love doesn't control, Dr. Ward said, his voice still calm, but now laced with an authority that sent a shiver down my spine. Love doesn't silence someone. What you've done, Emma, is not love. It's manipulation, and it's hurtful. I sat there, frozen, still unable to speak, but my mind was screaming. For the first time, I understood. For years, Emma had convinced me that I was broken, that I wasn't capable of standing up for myself. She had twisted my reality, made me question my own feelings, my own worth. And the silence, it had been her tool. By taking away my voice, she made me weak, made me afraid. She controlled me, kept me isolated, and I had allowed it, thinking it was for my own good. Dr. Ward turned to me then, his expression softening. Sharon, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're not the problem here. You've been hurt, but you have the power to heal. You can find your voice again, and you don't have to do it alone. Tears welled in my eyes, and for the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. Dr. Ward believed in me, he saw me, and for the first time, I wasn't trapped in my own silence. I was seen. Emma, on the other hand, seemed to shrink before my eyes. Her anger melted into something else, regret, guilt, or maybe even fear. Sharon, please, she whispered, but her voice was trembling. I was just trying to protect you. You don't understand. No, I managed to write down on my phone, my hands shaking. You didn't protect me. You controlled me. The words hung in the air between us. The final, undeniable truth. Emma had kept me in a cage of her own making, and I had spent too long inside it, convincing myself that she was right, that I wasn't strong enough to break free. I felt a sense of clarity settle over me, the weight of the last few months lifting from my shoulders. I didn't have to stay silent anymore. I didn't have to let her control me. I was not her prisoner. Dr. Ward looked at Emma one last time, his voice gentle but firm. It's not too late to get help, Emma, but this isn't something you can fix on your own. You need support too. And Sharon deserves to be heard. She deserves to heal. Emma's face crumpled as she finally let her guard down. She looked at me, and I saw the hurt, the confusion, and the guilt in her eyes. She had never expected this. She had never thought I would fight back. I never meant to hurt you, Emma whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. I wasn't sure if she believed it herself. I wasn't sure if she was capable of fully understanding the extent of the damage she had done. But that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. Dr. Ward stood, signaling the end of the session. Sharon, we'll work on helping you find your voice again. It's going to be a long journey, but you're not alone. You'll have people who care about you, people who truly want the best for you. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. For the first time, they were tears of relief, not fear, not confusion. I was finally free. The truth was out. Emma had been controlling Sharon for years, using psychological manipulation and emotional abuse to silence her. Sharon's inability to speak was a symptom of that control, and with the therapist's help, Sharon began to heal. Emma's role in the manipulation was exposed, and she was forced to confront her actions. The truth had set Sharon free. Sharon's release from her emotional prison was a powerful moment. The weight of years of confusion and isolation lifted as she realized she wasn't broken and she wasn't crazy. The validation she received from Dr. Ward and the realization that her feelings were valid was a turning point. For the first time in a long time, she could breathe easy again. After the session, Emma had to face the consequences of her actions. Her manipulation and control over Sharon were not excused by her desire to protect her. Emma's relationship with Sharon would never be the same, and she had to accept that. Sharon, on the other hand, now had the opportunity to rebuild her life, to find her voice, and to surround herself with people who cared for her without trying to control her. Sharon walked out of the therapist's office with a new sense of clarity. She knew her journey wasn't over, but for the first time, she had hope. She wasn't alone, and she wasn't trapped anymore. She could rebuild her life, her voice, and her future. The weight of silence had been broken, and Sharon was finally free. Did Emma really care for her, or was it all about control? Let me know below.